Hello everyone, this is the second video I'm making about Sylvie's name. I just made the one about her first name, so if you haven't watched that, you might want to watch that one first. But this one is about her middle name meaning and just little details about it based on how we chose it, which I don't even really like to call it that, but I'll get into that in the next video I'll make about how we chose her name. Okay, so Sylvie's middle name is Gwen. And Gwen is a derivative of Guinevere. We also had considered Gwenora or Gwenna. And if we had, I feel like later in her life, there may be some nicknames coming through of like Winnie or Wendy because her middle name is Gwen. But we'll see. That's, I feel like, something later on that we'll find out. Okay, so her middle name, Gwen, it means white wave, fair and smooth. It also means white lady or white circle. It has meanings of fair bow or blessed ring. It also means blessed, happy, again, white wave, white browed, new moon, which Sylvie was like almost born on a new moon. It was like she was born on a balsamic moon probably hours before the new moon, so I feel like it was pretty aligned. And one of my intentions for her middle name was for it to be connected to her moon sign, and yeah, that's just for that other video. I'll go into that more. Gwendolyn was the wife of Merlin, the magician, and she was the goddess of sovereignty. And I love the tales of King Arthur and Merlin. I feel like I have a lot of ancestry in the areas where those tales were told, so that was like meaningful to me to have a name that like felt like it was going to be very symbolic but also very connected to our past. So which gets into the origin of the name Gwen is Welsh and Celtic, and I have a lot of ancestry in like, I can't think of what it's called nowadays, but so essentially Scotland. I have a lot of ancestors from Scotland. So does Matt. And I have a lot of ancestors from like the England area, and specifically even areas where like King Arthur and stuff was supposedly based from. I don't know how to word that sometimes, but I like mapped it whenever my mom bought me an ancestry.com DNA test. So that was really cool to like find a name that resonated but also like had so much deeper meaning than just like, oh, that sounds nice. Okay, so I also looked up when researching all these names for Sylvie Gwen, of the ones that kind of like felt like they might be her name. I looked up the numerology, and on the website that I was on, it also mentioned the ruling planet, which I loved because I teach astrology and I'm so into it. Her ruling planet for her middle name is the sun, which her first name is also ruled by the sun. And I feel like a name in general is like such a sun thing. If we had gone with Gwenna, it would have been ruled by Neptune, or Gwenora would have been ruled by the moon. And I almost felt like her middle name was going to be Gwenora, but it just like wasn't sticking. And when she was born, like we just felt like Gwen was like enough and like the right version of her middle name. So yeah, that's interesting how like it got very like fine-tooth like decisions near the end of like which version of a name even to choose. Same for like her first name. I mean, I didn't like the general name version of her first name, but I liked the Sylvie specifically version. So yeah, for her middle name, I mean, I actually liked all of those, but it felt like Gwen was the right one to go with. Okay, so the numerology for Gwen, oh, let's hope that this works. I had to type it in again. Yeah, I'm gonna have to type it in. Okay, so the website that I'm on is astrologyfutureeye.com. They have a calculator for your name numerology, which has been really interesting. And a funny story that I'll tell here, I didn't say this in the first video, is I kind of like knew that it was a thing, but like I was so overwhelmed when pregnant that like I hadn't even gotten like to this point when looking up Sylvie's name. But on the plane ride to Utah, to Utah for my Young Living convention when I was pregnant, the woman I was sitting next to, she was riding with her daughter, and she saw me reading the book about names, and she asked about it. She told me how when she was choosing her daughter's name, she like went and looked up the numerology for her daughter's name, and I thought that was so cool that I was sitting next to somebody that was willing to like share all this stuff and then even talk about that. And I was like, okay, I gotta like look up the numerology for Sylvie's name like when I got back. And so that's when I started researching this stuff. Okay, so the name Gwen has a destiny number of 1, which is ruled by the sun, and it means leader, independent, and creative. Am I on the right one? Yeah, I am. Well, her first name has the same thing. 5 is her soul urge number, which is her heart's desire, her inner potentials, and inner resources. So 5 means learner and desire for freedom, and it's influenced by Mercury. And then her dream number is also 5, which is her personality, which describes her outer personality and her first impression. So 5 means impressive as witty, sensual, and curious. And we kind of talked about the Loki thing on the first name video. And yeah, I just feel like I didn't know her when looking all of this up, and now this is like the first time I'm going back and reflecting on it, and so far I feel like these are like lining up pretty well. So one thing I didn't think about doing on the first video, which I'll do right now, is so that's specifically just like for each name, but usually you look up a numerology of like a full name, so like your first, middle, and last name given at birth. Supposedly it doesn't change, like even if you change your name when getting married or like just later on down the road. So let's look up what it is for her full name, which I don't even have it in the past search bar because I thought it was going to be Gwenora instead of Gwen. Oh, I guess I did look it up. Okay. So her full name numerology, Sylvie Gwen Younger, is a destiny number of 4, which is ruled by Uranus. And so who she is, what she becomes is secretive, dependable, and practical. Her soul urge, which describes her inner potentials and resources, is 11, which is a dreamer and desire for spirituality. And her dream number, which represents her outer personality and first impressions, is also 11, which means impressive and spiritual, or impressive as spiritual and helping. And I've read her natal chart like a lot and like these totally line up with what her astrological alignments also foretell. So it's kind of cool to see how her name aligned with the things that where the planets were in the sky. That's like a lot to get into, and if you're not into astrology or numerology, I'm probably talking gibberish right now, and that's okay. But if you're into it, let me know, because I would love to talk to you about this. So that's the meaning and just the inner depths of her middle name. If you know any more, please let me know, because I would love to share these stories with her as she grows. Okay, bye.